This is the story of one of the most underrated vehicles and unsung heroes of the bus industry. It had a production run of 23 years, and thanks to a strong design and a trend for rebodying, it saw service well into the 2000s. This then is the story of the Leyland Leopard. The Leyland Leopard was launched at the 1959 Scottish Motor Show. It was an underfloor engined medium weight chassis. Now in the 1950s, underfloor engines were becoming a big thing on single decker buses. As I said in a previous video, with the engine underneath the floor there was more space within the dimensions for the passengers. And obviously more passengers equals more revenue, which is what bus companies tend to like. The Leyland Leopard was designed to fill the gap between the Leyland Tiger Cub, which was a lightweight single-decker bus with an underfloor engine, and the Leyland Worldmaster, which again was an underfloor engine bus, this time to a heavyweight design. The Worldmaster design had been a spin-off of the Leyland Royal Tiger, and with production of the Royal Tiger ending in 1955, the Leopard was seen as a replacement for this chassis. Just to confuse the matter even more, the Leopard was basically a Leyland Tiger Cub chassis with the larger horizontal 0600 engine. The chassis was given the designation L1 for a bus and L2 for a coach. Unlike many other models, there seemed to be no razzmatazz and big launch with the Leyland Leopard. It just seemed to slide into production. The first Leyland Leopards were all coaches, with deliveries for Milburn Motors, McDowell's of Glasgow and Sheffield. Another early customer for the Leyland Leopard was Western SMT, who ordered a fleet with luxurious Alexander coachwork featuring reclining seats and toilets. During the 1960s, the Leyland Leopard started to prove its worth not only as a coach but also as a service bus as well. As a bus, it became rather popular with some of the municipal operators: Southend, Lancaster, Barrow, Portsmouth, to name just a few. The idea being that the Leopard, with its extra power, could not only carry a full seated load but also standing passengers as well. And during the 1960s there were lots of trials with standee designs. In 1961, Ribble took 35 L2 Leopards with Harrington coachwork. The first 20 were for extended tours and were very spacious with 32 seats in them, while the remainder of the batch were the more usual 41-seaters. These ones for Ribble were the first UK Leopards to have air suspension fitted. Later that same year, Southdown bought 40 Leopards, again with Harrington coachwork. Again, these were very low seated and only had 28 luxury seats in them, and these were again used for extended tours. The Leopard was starting to prove itself as an urban bus, a medium distance coach, a longer distance coach and a touring coach as well. I'd like to interrupt this video with a little bit of self-promotion. In 2011 I formed the Southern Counties Omnibus Collection. We're lucky to have some very wonderful and unique vehicles within our collection. We also have a collection of smaller exhibits like bus stop flags, uniform, ticket machines, destination blinds and so on. In fact, it's fair to think of us as a bus museum, just without the museum bit. We also organise the Thanet Vintage Bus Road Run every July. In 2024 it is going to be held on the 14th of July, where as usual vintage buses will be running around Thanet while we collect for a local animal charity, Thanet Cats in Crisis. It's fair to say that 2024 looks like it's going to be a very busy year for Southern Counties Omnibus Collection. But none of this is cheap, and as I said in my previous videos, owning classic buses is rather expensive. And as a result, I'm always looking at new ways of helping to fund the collection. So YouTube have now given me the chance to offer paid membership subscriptions with my channel, which will give me a chance to earn some money doing something I genuinely enjoy. Membership comes in 3 levels and 3 prices. The first one is minibus, and that is for £2.99 a month, and for that you will get loyalty badges and priority reply to your comments. The next level is single decker. Can you see the theme I'm doing here? This is my personal favourite one, and it's for £5.99 a month, and for that you will get the perks from the previous level, early access to new video, member shoutouts, photo and status updates, and exclusive member only videos. And the last level is double decker, and that is for £22.99 a month, and that includes all the perks from the previous levels, plus we can connect on social media, and there's an opportunity to meet up at certain shows where I can show you around the vehicles in person. This is an exciting time for both the Southern Counties Omnibus collection and the YouTube channel, and it would be great for you to be part of it. Many thanks for your time, and now back to the main feature. In 1961, the constructions and use regulations were changed. All buses and coaches could now have a length of 36 foot and a maximum width of 8 foot 2.5 inches wide, the imperial equivalent of 2.5 metres. In the summer of 1961, Leyland announced a new range of 36 foot long Leopard chassis for the home market. The popular L1 and L2 Leyland Leopards formed the basis of this new range, and indeed provided most of the parts for it, including the engine and air braking systems. Despite this apparent replacement, the L1 and L2 Leyland Leopard remained available up until 1965. The all-new, all-singing Leyland Leopard received the designation PSU3. PSU for passenger, single-decker, underfloor, the position of the engine. There were 4 models in the range as well. There was the PSU 3-1R, which was a synchromesh gearbox bus. You then had the PSU 3-2R, which was the pneumocyclic gearbox bus. The PSU 3-3R was a synchromesh gearbox coach, whilst the PSU 3-4R was a pneumocyclic gearbox coach. Now there were other versions as well and various sub-designations, but I'm not going to go into those because we'll be here all night. One of those first 36 foot long Leopards with the synchromesh gearbox buses was actually delivered to Edinburgh Corporation. This was actually a triple door bus to a style that's very familiar to those of you who've been on the continent. This Alexander bodied bus only seated 35, but the time you added the standees in, you had a bus that could carry around 70 passengers. Around this time too, the BET Federation launched their standard style single-decker bus. Normally a Leyland Leopard with bodywork by Marshall of Cambridge, these could be found in fleets such as East Midlands, Maidstone District and Southdown. In 1965, the PSU 4 series replaced the older L1, L2 series Leopards. From 1968, the 0680 Leyland engine became standard, replacing the 0600 engine in the Leopard. In September 1967, the constructions and use regulations were changed again, and this allowed 12-metre long single-deck buses. This was to see yet another variation of the Leyland Leopard, the PSU 5 series, which was built to the maximum 12-metre length. CIE in Ireland became the first operator of the 12-metre Leopard when the prototype one was delivered in August 1970. In 1968, the government introduced a bus grant, which basically gave bus operators 25% off the cost of a new bus as long as it met the requirements of one-person operation. This gave the Leopard, which was available in 10 and 11 and soon to be 12 metre lengths, a bit of a sales boost. Not that it really needed this, as it was really popular anyway. In the 1970s, British Leyland introduced the Leyland National, which they hoped would be the future of all British single-decker city buses. This saw the Leopard slightly pushed out from its bus status and pushed more into a coaching role. Although local authorities, independents and to some extent the passenger transport executives still continued to specify Leyland Leopard buses. However, this didn't stop the Leyland Leopard from becoming the National Bus Company's standard coach, with Plaxton, Jupil and later Willowbrook and ECW coachworks fitted to it. However, north of the border in Scotland things were different. The Leyland National didn't prove very popular at all, so the Leyland Leopard became the standard service bus of the Scottish bus group. They supplemented these with Bristol REs and later Seddons and Volvo B58s. The Scottish bus group also ran Leyland Leopard coaches as well. Scotland seemed to really like the Leopards. The Leyland Leopard was a huge success as an export as well, with buses being exported to far-flung places like Finland and the Congo. Like Scotland, Ireland never took to the Leyland National, and both major operators in Ireland, CIE and Ulsterbus, took large batches of Leyland Leopards, both as buses and coaches. Sadly, it's reported that 228 Leyland Leopards were destroyed during the Troubles in Northern Ireland. The Leyland Leopard proved very popular being exported to Australia, with the Public Transport Commission purchasing 745 for operation in Sydney and Newcastle. This became the largest fleet of Leyland Leopards in the world. In 1979, the AEC Reliance, which had been a lifelong competitor of the Leyland Leopard, ceased production. This same year saw a few changes to the Leyland Leopard design, with new gearbox options, tyre changes and a change to the cooling system. Also in 1979, the Leyland Leopard was briefly moved to a new assembly hall at Leyland. But by 1981, the Leopard had transferred back to the Farrington factory to be built alongside the Atlantean. In 1980, for the domestic market alone, Leyland sold over 700 Leyland Leopards. That's an amazing amount, 700 Leyland Leopards in 1980 for the domestic market. But in 1981, Leyland unveiled the Leyland Tiger. This featured air suspension and the newer TL11 engine. And for a year or so, the Leopard and the Tiger were sold side by side. But European legislation about vehicle noise soon put pay to that. The last Leopards were built for the home market in 1982, but the time they were bodied, it was in 1983. Although Leopard production had finished, it was down but certainly not out. Over the lifetime of the Leyland Leopard, many were rebodied. This was due to a number of things: accident damage, fire, or just the structural integrity of the original body had failed. Also, trends change, and where people needed coaches, now they sometimes needed buses, especially where deregulation occurred in the mid-1980s. Suddenly, the Leyland Leopard was becoming quite a valuable commodity, especially if it was a bus or had the grant-style coachwork, which meant it could be used for bus work or longer distance runs. In the late 1980s and early 1990s, Willowbrook of Loughborough entered the foray and started rebodying Leyland Leopards with their Willowbrook Warrior bodywork. Now, I think for anyone under the age of 30, the kindest thing to say about the Willowbrook Warrior would be that if you ordered a Leyland Lynx on Wish, this is what you'd probably get. 48 Warriors were built on Leyland Leopard chassis. Other uses for redundant Leyland Leopards were slightly more drastic. With the engine and gearbox between the wheels, you could cut the end off quite happily and turn it into a recovery truck. This proved quite popular with some of the large fleet operators of the Leyland Leopard, namely those in Ireland, Scotland and also Midland Red. Now, another popular conversion for old coaches, if you've seen the Italian Job, is to convert them into car carriers. Those coaches with engines at the front or underfloor engines, such as the Leopard, make ideal conversions into car transporters. And it's worth noting that quite a few brand new Leyland Leopards were supplied with goods bodywork on them. Some were supplied as Pantechnicon removal vans, whilst there was at least one that was actually built brand new as a car transporter. Unfortunately though, once most buses reach the end of their life, they are scrapped or used for spare parts to keep other ones going. With the Leopard having a long production run, it's fair to say that if you entered any bus breakers from the 1970s onwards, you would come across at least one Leyland Leopard. In fact, even now while you're watching this, there's probably yards with Leyland Leopards tucked away in them, hidden in undergrowth, which will only probably now provide spare parts to keep preserve buses going. And talking of preservation, there are many fine examples of this bus and coach kept going by devoted individuals. They prove very popular at running days and bus rallies, and I know when I take my Leyland Leopard out that she is a real head turner, but that's probably because of the sound that these things generate. They're incredibly loud, they've got a big booming exhaust, and you can normally hear it coming about 3 streets away. I hope you found this look at one of Leyland's big cats a roaring success. If you found it rawsome, okay, I will stop doing the big cat jokes. Please share and like this video. And don't forget to subscribe as well, because this helps build up the channel. Many thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.